still have a couple of software glitches. I think today's the first time we've used them. Some of them may not have been activated, I'm not sure, but you'll just come through and you'll swipe and you'll walk in. That's all there is to it. And then we'll have a complete record of all your everything that you've attended and everything that you've been to. And what was the other thing you wanted me to tell them about them, Karen?
Please make sure they sign up.
Please make sure you sign up for these classes. You can sign up for more than one at a time while you're on the website. But again, we use that to predict the room that we're going to get. We can get 50 in this room, about 48 maybe, because we got 2 chairs over here that really aren't usable, and still be able to video everything. Did anybody go and look at the video of the last class yet? Okay, great. This one should be a little better. We're still tweaking that. We had a battery go out. Now we start every class with fresh batteries. So that won't happen again. There was a little static in there in one place. We found that the camera overexposes to the ProReal logo, so we're having it redone with a black background. So I took it off the slides tonight. So hopefully that'll get better and better. And we're going to video each class as we go. Okay. Again, we're talking about real estate wholesaling. Most of you know me because you're members, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this next slide that just talks about who is Joe Locklear. Like I say, I think we've already done that. Let's get right into the subject matter. Question: what does a wholesaler need to do to become successful? To be successful as a wholesaler, what do you need to do? And it's pretty simple to be able to state it. Number one, you need to contract to buy houses at below wholesale prices. Now, what does that mean? A lot of people call themselves a wholesaler because they go get a deal and then they sell it to somebody at a pretty much retail price. That is not being a wholesaler. A wholesaler is someone in the real estate business that sells at wholesale prices. You need to understand the difference there. A lot of people think, oh, this is easy. I'll just go put something under contract. I'll find somebody to buy it. But to be a wholesaler has to learn to consistently buy houses at prices that are below wholesale. And that's not as easy to do as it is just to find houses that you can make work for you. It's got to work for you and have a margin that you can sell it to somebody else. Every time I buy a house, I'm willing to keep that house because it's a good enough deal that I can mark it up and sell it to somebody else. So I'm happy to keep it. So I look at every house as if I'm going to keep that house. And some of them I have. Some of them I bought, put under a contract, and then chickened out. I'm keeping that one. And usually that's the little cheap ones. But you need to contract to buy houses at below wholesale prices. Very important. The next thing that you need to do is to recruit a sizable number of qualified buyers. Now, what is a sizable number? I always have more buyers than I have houses for sale. Those of you that know me, that have done business with me, know that it generally doesn't take me more than an hour or two to market a house. If you tell me you're interested in a house and you call me back the next day, chances are it's not there. Anybody had that happen to you? It happens. Okay, so it does not take us long to market a property because we have recruited a sizable number of qualified buyers. And you don't need to be worried about your buyer pool. You need to learn how to build that buyer pool and then spend your time finding houses, because that buyer pool will be there. People will buy 1, 2, 3, 5, or 6 houses. And so you've got to recruit a sizable number of qualified buyers. And we're going to talk about how to do all this. Right now we're talking about what you need to do. And number 3, you need to offer the tools and the mentoring to facilitate successful transactions. Okay, as a wholesaler, the only way you're going to be successful long term as a wholesaler is to be able to offer more than just a house. If you're selling to a person, maybe they're buying their first house, they don't know how to get it closed. They don't know that they need the title checked. There are a lot of things that you need to learn. So a wholesaler has to have a real good overall knowledge of the real estate market, because you've got to facilitate those transactions, and you need the tools necessary. Who can tell me what a tool might be? What's a tool of a wholesaler that you got to have to get a transaction done? Lender. How about a lender? How about a private lender? That's a great one. A title company. You got to have tools. So number 3 is you need to offer the tools and the mentoring to facilitate successful transactions. Okay, now how does a wholesaler find houses? Let's talk about a couple of different scenarios. REOs are what I call the low-hanging fruit. We bought an REO today, and I hope we got another one. I hope we got 2 today. We don't generally get 2 in one day, but we consistently trying right now, we're consistently have bought 4 a month. We're trying to get to 8 a month. So our goal for this month is to buy 8 houses. To do that, we have to offer on some REOs. REOs are houses that are owned by a lender. That lender is usually a financial institution. It could be an individual, but REO stands for real estate owned. And what that means is that the bank or the lender has taken that property back and they now own it. It is not necessarily a foreclosure. We talk about bank foreclosures. Every REO is not a foreclosure. Why not? No, because some of them are given back.
Deed in lieu.
Yeah, deed in lieu of foreclosure. So it's not necessarily a foreclosure. So if you just search foreclosure records, you'll miss some things that a bank may have as an REO. Okay, so basically an REO is defined, it is now owned by the lender, whoever the lender was, not necessarily a foreclosure. Okay, so where do you find these REOs? Well, you have a couple of options. You can work with a buyer's broker. Now, that's what we do. We actually are our own buyer's broker. I tell people I couldn't find a decent broker. Well, I could. I had some people that I worked with before, but I really couldn't control that situation. And I had to have one. So Adam became my buyer's broker. He went and graduated from college, got his license, and now he makes all of my offers on real estate. So I like to have a broker that represents me. I feel I have much more control. I feel I don't have to re-educate them every time I make an offer as to how I want to close it. We're in the control, and you know, we have to do some things with other people, but we try our best to control the entire process as much as we can. Adam knows how to get these foreclosures closed better than 90% of all the agents that list them. He winds up doing the listing agent's job because the listing agent doesn't know how to do it. Now, you may think that's odd, but it's not odd. How many people in the real estate business here? Okay, and do you think that the listing agents really know how to process these things? Most of the listing agents? Most of them aren't very good at it, but it's all we do. We don't do retail sales and all those other things, so we get very good at making these deals work. Adam has to call and follow up, and I find that I just prefer to do business with my own broker, which means when I want to look at a house, I call Adam, he tells me go look at the house, he gets me in. Now, since he's my son, I get a little flexibility there. But basically, if you have a broker, if you're working with a buyer's broker, when you go to look at an REO, you are going to ask that person to get you in the house. You are not going to call the listing agent. Now, in the case of some listing agents, they won't work with you anyway. I know Peter with Florida REO. It took me a year to meet him. For 6 months, he never returned my calls. I think we met by chance one day, and he says, I don't sell houses. Okay, your bigger REO processors just work with the banks and they get the houses on the market and they handle the process, but they don't want to sell them. So with some agents, you have no choice. You must have your own buyer's broker. But there are a lot of agents that you can go to the listing agent and they will take your offer. That would be called working with the listing broker. Now, some people feel that may be better because that broker may get both sides of the commission and might be more apt to sell to you than to someone else. Weighing both sides, I prefer the buyer's broker. You may prefer it the other way. or you may not have a preference. But I have found that I buy a lot of houses, and I prefer to make the offers through one person and let them control. We may have 50 offers out at any one given time. If I'm personally out there dealing with 50 different listing agents, or 30 or 40 because they have multiple properties, it's pretty much a full-time deal for me to keep up with it. And because we make offers in bulk, I simply can't do that. But that's something you'll have to decide which way you want to go. Whichever way you go, if you're going to buy REOs, you're going to need a couple of different things. Number one is proof of funds. How many people know what proof of funds is? Okay, the best proof of funds is a bank statement. Here's the money. And in lieu of that, you need a letter from a lender that says you have the money, that they're going to lend you the money to buy this house. You can get that from a private lender if you have an arrangement. I have one particular private lender that, we have an ongoing letter. All we have to do is put it in the word processor and change the address, because he's guaranteeing our funds, that allowing us to make these offers. You cannot make these offers without proof of funds. They won't even take your offers. Okay, so you need to hook up with a lender ahead of time, or you've got to be able to show the cash in the bank to buy the house. Now, they don't care about the rehab and all that. If you're paying 20 for the house, you just got to have proof of funds on 20. Okay, you don't need your rehab money and all that, because they don't care. Even though you may want to borrow that, doesn't need to be in the proof of funds letter. Okay, you need to have a strategy for making offers on REOs. I mean, you just don't walk out and say, well, if I see a good one, I'll make an offer. That's not a strategy. A couple of strategies that we have found successful is being first or last, early or late. The middle ground doesn't seem very productive. Now, we make it a point. We had one that opened today, and we thought it was today. It's in the morning. Adam will get up early in the morning. For him, that's like 10 a.m. And as soon as he can get on that website, his offer will be in on that property, because we're going to be first. Now, if it doesn't sell or we don't get it, especially like HUD, you got to be first. We look at HUD stuff that's 60, 90 days on the market, because some of it gets kind of swept under the rug. They overprice it. All of a sudden, they decide to sell it. Same thing happens with regular REOs. They sit. I saw one today. It was like on the market 120 days. I mean, is that ridiculous or what? Either the BPO was wrong, or the owner won't cooperate. Something's going on there. But you know what? Pretty soon, one day, they'll get tired of messing with that listing. So if I go in late, I may wake one up. So we don't do a lot of offering in the middle. We generally want to be there very, very quick. If it's on the market for 7 days, generally we're not going to be able to buy it. Because if it was a good deal, it probably would have sold in the first couple of days. If it were 30 days old, we'd have a better chance. Yes, sir.
You think that would cover letter claim away from them?
And I'm going to repeat that because he asked about a cover letter, because I've got this directional mic it may not have picked up. No. Adam can tell you more about that, because he actually makes the offers. I really don't even make offers on the REOs. All I do is set prices and text them back to Adam. Got a hot one, get this offer in, and he handles it from there. And that's why I love having a buyer's agent. I don't want to work every deal. I'm going to tell him the most he can offer. He's even going to set his own strategy. I would tell my buyer's offer, this is the tops, 20,000. He may want to start at 15. He may know that seller, may know how that process or something. You don't always go in with your high. But I don't think cover letters mean anything. What means something is letting them know that you will close. My buyers know, my sellers, all these other realtors know me, and they know my offer may be a couple of bucks less, but guess what? They'll never have to worry about me backing out or getting an inspection. I don't even care about that stuff. I'll sign off all of it up front. They know my offer is an offer. I've already looked at the house. I know what's there. I don't need roof letters or this or that. I don't need any of that. I'm a wholesale guy, and here's the offer. I will close. And I buy houses for less than some other people offer because of that. Usually all I got to do is get close with the people that I deal with a lot, because I'm a sure thing. And a lot of the guys aren't. If you ever go in and put yourself in the position that you back out and that reputation gets out, you're done. We're not even going to take your offers. So basically, you need to be very careful about that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's a good question. Okay, so you're going to need a proof of funds, a bank statement or a funding letter, and you're going to need a plan for making your offers. Maybe you come up with a different plan, but you need a target property, basically. In other words, this is what I'm looking to buy. So to find that, I'm either going to, our plan is early and late. I don't know why I'm telling you guys all this. You're going to be out competing with me tomorrow. But I really promised when I taught this class, I would tell you everything we actually do. And I'm not holding anything back because most of you aren't going to do it anyway. But one or two of you might, and it can be good if you really listen and do the way that we tell you to do it. We've been doing this a long time. We've made every mistake in the business. We pretty much know what works and what doesn't work, especially with buying REOs. Buying REOs is not complicated, but if you think you're going to figure it out again, you're not. I mean, there's a process, and you have to work within that process. And mainly, you have to make a lot of offers. You're not going to buy many houses making an offer a week on REOs. You have got to do a volume of offers. And to do that, you need a system. You can't offer on everything out there, but you need to come up with a system on what you're going to offer on and how you're going to determine what you're going to offer. We'll talk about that in a little more detail. Okay.
Will you share with us the name of the listing brokers?
I don't deal with the listing brokers. I mean, they're every broker out there. I deal with Adam only. See, I don't go to listing brokers. Adam does, but it's not on that kind of a relationship scale. See, I don't look around and I look for REOs. All he does is send the listing, and generally that's an informal thing. Now, he gets to know these people because he deals with them on the closings, and they get to know him. They see his name. They know it's going to get handled properly. They know that he's probably going to do half their job for them if he has to, and that we are going to close. But it's not a matter, if you're looking for these listing agents and you're going the second way that we talked about here, which I don't really recommend. You can do it, but it's going to how many houses you want to buy. If you want to buy a couple of houses a year, that may work fine, but to do that repeatedly, to me it's more difficult. But other people disagree with me. Other people just go to the listing broker, but most of them find a broker they like, and they wind up settling in and using them as a buyer's broker eventually. Okay, that's basically buying REOs. Now, when we buy REOs, again, my suggestion is find a good broker that will make your offers and follow up. We'll talk about evaluating, but we have a lot to get through in 2 hours. We're going to do a Saturday on this probably, which we'll talk about at the end, but basically just want to cover most of the basics. Does anybody have any real quick questions still on REOs? Yes, ma'am. That is, you learn to value them, and we'll look at that just briefly, but when we do our Saturday, we're going to do that in very, very minute detail. You've got to understand, you back in what you think, what you know you can sell it for, and you don't really care whether it's at wholesale, because you're going to make your offer below wholesale. That's why you have to make a lot of offers.
Joe,
Yes.
how do you deal with the Fannie Mae guidelines to see you have to have 90 days before you can sell it for X amount? If you're worse than that, how do you deal with the fact that you have 90 days before you can recover it?
What the rule says is you can't sell a house. He asked about the Fannie Mae seasoning requirements. We deal with them every day. Half of our properties we deal with them. What we do is, if there's a loan involved, you can only borrow against that house 20% above the sales price, but you can get a personal note. Okay, so what I do, I have my lender lend the 20% above the purchase price. He lends the rest on a personal note. After the seasoning period, then we'll modify the loan and put it back on the house, because you want it on the house so you can refinance it. Okay, it's not an expensive process.
It's the wholesale side of the 90-day turnaround.
What I do is I can only sell the house for 20% more than I bought it for, but I can charge anything I want for the renovation.
Clarify.
Most of the houses that I sell, I renovate. It's just got to be outside the HUD 1. And it's got to be for another service other than the purchase price of the house.
You can't turn wholesale it out for
Not on paper, but guess what? I do a lot of business with a handshake. If I say it's this price, they just cut me a check. But you can't do it inside the closing. What I call it is a construction estimate and consulting fee. But it can't go on the HUD 1. It can't be part of the purchase. It's got to be something separate. So if you're just straight wholesaling, you've got to figure a way to do it, and your buyers have to understand what you're doing. That's why it's so important to build a buyer's list of people. And with me, I educate my buyers so they're prepared for this when they come in. I mean, we first saw it as a real stumbling block, and after a couple, everybody expects it.
what you're saying, you can actually wholesale it out for more than the
20%.
for more than the deed restriction, as long as you do it outside the closing.
Correct. And I would not call it wholesaling.
No, I know that.
You know, it's consulting. Give them a good, you're a contractor, give them a good detailed construction estimate for $5,000. Okay? And you can legally do that. But now, yes, they could take advantage of you and not pay and walk away, and all you get is your 20%. So, but I don't deal with those kind of people, so I don't have that problem. Okay. Another way to find houses is motivated sellers, and this is really my favorite. We get lazy and we pick the low-hanging fruit, which is sometimes REOs, because they're not real hard to buy right now. It gets more and more competitive as more investors get in the business, but still, you can buy them, but the real deals are not the REOs generally. The real deals are the motivated seller properties. This is where you can do like I did the other day. I bought a house for $6,000 from a motivated seller through this program I'm going to tell you about right here. Tell you exactly what we do to find these people, and it works like a charm. We get lazy sometimes, and not just lazy, we got busy with ProRIA, so we haven't gone after any motivated sellers for about 3 months. It took a lot of time to put this process and this organization together, and a lot of effort. So we got lazy. Now I'm just fixing to get cranked up again and get some more houses. I want to personally own some more of those cheaper houses. So what do? First, what are motivated sellers? They are private sellers that are motivated for various reasons. And to penetrate that market, you simply must discover why most people are motivated. You've got to find the reason for the motivation to know how to find the people. Everybody understand that? So we don't target people, we target motivation. And we look at different types of motivation. For example, out-of-town landlords, they generally have management issues. Most landlords are cheap. They don't ever go through our course and learn that cheap is not cheap. I have a motto, I can't afford to save any money. And that can be true. But they don't understand that, so they cut and they scrimp and they save this, and pretty soon they've lost their tenant. Now, you know, housing safety's been out because kids threw a rock through the window. They have a mess on their hands, a lot of them. And a lot of them are highly motivated. So the most motivated person I've ever seen is an out-of-town landlord. So who do you think we like to market to? Out-of-town landlords, and we're going to do a Saturday, and I'm just going to tell you, we have a program that we use, which we'll demonstrate. It's an online program that we subscribe to, and I can show you exactly how to find them. Mike actually did a program for us. He's an old programmer in a past life. But we have to be smart enough to use his program, and I don't know that we are. So I'm going to show you the one that you have to pay for. Okay, so that's one of our main targets. Another one is a house that needs repair. Now, those can be found from code enforcement issues. Code enforcement is public records. So you can go to code enforcement and you can get a list of all the houses that have code enforcement liens on them. Those are excellent targets for motivated sellers. So you see what I mean? You identify the motivation, and then you find a way to get to those people. Okay, How about behind in the taxes or the mortgage payments? Okay, so there are a lot of services that'll tell you when people are behind in their mortgage payments. I don't subscribe to any of them, but they're there. And behind in taxes is pretty easy to see. There's a tax list that comes out. When that tax list comes out, you can locate and get a hold of those people if you can, and say, hey, you're going to lose that house if you don't pay your taxes. Would you like to sell it instead? Okay, and here's one none of us do anymore. I did it one time. I sent out 21 letters, and I bought a house and almost bought a second house, and that's probate. Who works probate? Okay, but you got lazy like me, right? Okay, and that happens to us a lot. I mean, we do so many different things as a wholesaler that we can't do them all. That's why I'm not really worried about the competition. There are 1.3 million people in Jacksonville, and we probably got the hottest education venue going. We got less than 50 people in this room. Is there enough business out there for us? Oh yeah. I mean, we won't scratch the market. If there were 2,000 of us, we wouldn't scratch the market that's out there. So probate is very simple. Go to Financial News and Daily Record and subscribe. It's cheap. And all the probate gets posted in the same paper. It gives you their contact of their attorney. You can send a letter to their attorney, and then you can go and look them up on COJ and try to get a letter. You can get a letter to whoever's paying the taxes. And you simply, I mean, and when you do these letters, it's not rocket science. I'm a small investor that needs to buy a few houses in Jacksonville. I notice yours is in probate, and I'm very sorry for your loss. I just want to let you know that if you do need a buyer, I'm here. Here's my contact number. Simple. Just put it in your own words. And so that's a particular motivation. Someone's passed away, left it to 3 or 4 kids, and they're in a big fight. And a lot of them just want to get it over and get the cash as quickly as they can. How about the owner has relocated? In other words, the owner has got a job transfer, and they're no longer here. You might find that out from, I don't even know that source because I haven't done those. I'm sure there's a source out there somewhere that you can find that out. Once they've relocated for a while, they're going to be an out-of-town landlord, and you're going to pick that up because the tax records are not going to match. The address of the property is not the address where the tax bill is sent. Now, the system that we use, it's called RealQuest, will sniff that out, and it's an amazing system, really. And it'll pick up a lot of things. You could tell me I'm looking for a 2-bedroom house to buy, 1 bath, that they've owned it at least 7 years, and maybe they didn't pay their taxes last year, and I can run that, and the computer will spit them out and give me a mailing list. RealQuest. They will actually even print mailing labels. I don't use them, but because I have an automated system that does my postcards, and when I do letters, I always hand address them. But basically, these are all motivations. Owner is aging or in poor health. Maybe people that live in a certain apartment that caters to the elderly. A lot of those people may still own houses that their kids are having to take care of. That's a great place to market. Any motivation that you can think of, if you're smart, you can figure out how to get to those people. We do mostly REOs and out-of-town owners right now. That's about all the leads we can handle. But probate is an excellent one that I don't see anybody doing anymore. My mother passed away, never got one letter from anybody about probate on her house.
How are they going to find you?
Because my address was there. I was the executor of the estate. You're going to get to whoever's handling it because that's what has to be advertised. When they advertise that, a probate, they're saying anybody has a claim, call here. That is the person in control or the person that's in control's attorney.
That's exactly right.
I believe it's in Financial News and Daily Records. I haven't done it in years. I did it once, and I almost bought 2 houses. I did buy one. Yes, Doug?
What you're looking for is notice to creditors.
Okay.
The heading over the probate thing is doing notice to creditors.
But Doug that's mentioning that does some of that. He said it's notice to creditors that you're looking for. Okay, the last one now, I do this. And this is how I'm building my personal portfolio right now. And that is title issues prevent a normal sale. Now, I find them because I do so many mail outs. I'll find one that has bad title and I'll buy it. And people will tell me, oh, you should never buy a house with bad title. Well, keep thinking that. You shouldn't. Let me have them all. As long as that title doesn't have any chance or 1 in a million chance of somebody coming and taking my house, which 99.9% of them don't have that chance. They're paperwork errors. Maybe I can't get title insurance. I just bought a house like that for $6,000. I'm spending about $12,000 to renovate it. I'll be in it for $18,000 and I'm going to rent it for $600 a month, or my management company is. How long will it take me to get my money back? Less than 30 months. Then what's at risk? Nothing. Okay, and I get $600 a month less the fees for the rest of my life. That a good deal? Okay, these I buy cash. This is where my cash goes. This is why I don't have any cash. I get a little cash, I'm buying one of those. Okay, and I love them. How do you find them? Why don't you call around all the title companies, say, hey, you get any bad titles that won't close, give me a call, I'll buy them. You know, I mean, just put the word out. They go on. You know, these banks don't search title. I had one I offered 88. Title came back bad. I went back at 50. They say they're going to fix the title. They'll call me back. You know how I know that? No, they're not smart enough to find the guy that I found. Okay, I found the guy by going to his previous address, which he did not own anymore, walking up, knocking on the door, and asked the person that answered if he left a forwarding address. I had some mail I needed to get to him. I'm not sure. Let me look. They went and scrounged around in a drawer and got this guy's address. And I called him and said, hey, I'll give you $2,500 if you want to sign a quick claim. You're never going to get that property back, but it saved me that money doing a quiet title. He said, sure. And I said, by the way, if the bank calls you, they won't give you anything. Make sure you tell them no. He said, I'm not even talking to them. Okay, so they're not going to fix it. So basically, you know the house, Bob. You saw it. Now, I'm not doggone. Bob was interested in that house. I just told him what I was going to get it for. I mean, this is a house that probably worth $280. Yeah, right on Fort Caroline Road. But it needs $100,000 in rehab. But it to me, I'll give him $50,000 all day. I wasn't real happy at 88. I was willing to pay it. But that has a title issue. I thrive on title issues because look at the practicality of it. I mean, I swim upstream a lot anyway. The rules don't mean a lot to me. If I can figure out that, oh, don't ever buy a house with bad title, but if I can figure out if I can have all my money back in 30 months, I mean, they couldn't sue me and get it back in 30 months.
Joe, what about IRS right of redemption?
The IRS right of redemption, I don't, that's on tax deeds, and I don't do tax deeds, but there is a 12-month right of redemption from Fannie Mae. And that I had on another one that I bought for $8,500, and I just let it expire. It's expired now, and I can get title insurance if I want it. But you know, rather than us get into that, Laura Reepsing is teaching that class, title issues and courthouse sales. I mean, I'm not going to miss that one. And she is the person that does all the searches for most of the people in town that buy at the courthouse. So she knows that business and she knows that process very, very well. So let's don't get into that much detail. That's another way of me telling you I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Locating and buying from motivated sellers. You need to target one or more types of motivation. We talked about the types of motivation. You need to target one or more. And then you design a campaign to reach sellers with that motivation. So what is a campaign? It's an orderly progression of a way you put together to reach them. Now, we like direct mail marketing. My entire buying from motivated sellers is direct mail marketing. Now, there are more effective ways than that, but we're too lazy to do them. Who can guess what might be more effective than direct mail? Flyers on the door. There's nothing in this world that's more effective to buy from motivated sellers than putting a flyer on their door. Nothing. Nowhere, no how. Most of you, if you went out and you spent a day putting flyers on a door in the right neighborhood, you would buy a house. But you won't do it. Why won't you do it? It's not just lazy, we're scared. We're scared somebody will say, "What are you doing in there?" They will. I put them on doors. I had one fella in a class I taught, and I told him this. I said, "I'll tell you how to do it, but you won't do it. You're all too lazy." He said, "I will," and I'd had 100 people in the past say they would and never did. So he said, "But what do I do?" I said, "Well, call me tomorrow." He called me tomorrow. I took one of my flyers, went in the word processor, took his name off and put my name off, put his and his phone number. I told him where to go, and I said, "You go in that neighborhood and you put them on the door." I used to give his name, but Adam said, "I got to quit giving his name. He might get mad at me." So he went out and he did it. He found a deal. That deal was so good that I bought it from him and paid him $10,000 for that deal. If you heard his name, you might even know it. I mean, he'll verify this. His first deal ever. Now, you think this guy was destined for greatness, right? He'd gotten a taste of it. I think that's the last time he did it. He decided there were easier ways to do this. He heard some of the gurus and decided there were easier ways. He's not buying houses right now. But there is nothing more effective than that. You find a farm area and you get those flyers out there, and really you need to do it yourself, because what will happen, you'll learn that people in the neighborhood, "Well, what are you doing?" "I'm just leaving a flyer. I'm trying to buy some houses." "Oh, well, guess what? So-and-so over there's mother died and she wants to sell that house." You will flat buy houses if you do that.
Exactly what happened on Walnut.
Really?
3 doors down from the one I bought from you.
Mm-hmm.
As I was out there during the renovation talking to neighbors and stuff, I said, "Oh, by the way, she just died. You might want to talk to her son."
Sure. Think if you were walking around the neighborhood putting out flyers, how much of that you can get. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody.
So you don't recommend hiring a kid, bringing up 10 hours.
You can do it. It'll be somewhat effective, but it won't be as effective as someone that knows what they're doing out there, because you'll meet people.
And they scam me. They threaten
Yeah. Hey, I used to pay you to put flyers out. Adam says the kids will scam you. They'll just throw them in the trash and get paid, but he's the one I used to pay, so it's nice to know that now.
And you know, they weren't good before, were they?
That flyers always work. I'm telling you, there is nothing more effective than putting a flyer on somebody's door. You will get the calls. Put 100 of them out, you're going to get one call that tells you, "What were you doing?" "No, I don't want to sell my house. Don't ever do that again." Blah, blah, blah. "Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am," and hang up.
When I rehab my rental houses,
Mm-hmm.
just buying, I put flyers out in the neighborhood, so I'm trying to attract tenants later on when it's done. Also when I retail, and several times I've bought houses that way in the neighborhood.
That's great. Ron says when he does his rehab, he puts flyers out in the neighborhood, and people come by and see the rehab. Almost inevitably, somebody in that neighborhood will say, "Hey, I want to sell mine too. You want to buy it?" Yeah, the little simple things are the easiest ways to buy houses. We're all looking for the complicated ones, but it's because we're lazy and we don't want to do the simple ones.
Does it work better at one level of income or housing?
Oh yeah. The lower the income level, the more houses and foreclosures and financial problems are, the better this works. You're not going to go into a real super nice neighborhood and get anywhere with this, but kicked out of the neighborhood. But if you'll get out in the Lake Forest and the river views and those areas, they can be middle class areas. Then it will definitely work. And the more problems in the neighborhood, the more calls you'll get, of course. Now, you may go pick up some houses in some borderline areas like I do, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. I mean, I've gotten to where I love it when Laura comes back and says, "Oh, we got a title problem on this one." I'm whoopee. Because I'm going back and cutting my offer down to half, knowing nobody else is going to buy it. So I really do like that. Okay, so let's talk about the direct mail. I have 3 approaches. I call one the shotgun campaign. I call the other the sharpshooter campaign. I call the last one the surgical campaign. We do all 3 of these. Sometimes we think a particular neighborhood, like Lake Forest, I like Lake Forest. I'll go into a neighborhood I like and I'll just shotgun it. What that means, every house is going to get a postcard. I use postcards for the shotgun campaign. I use a company called Postcard Mania to send those postcards. We don't do them ourselves. We create our mailing list using RealQuest, and then we send that CSV file, they call it, comma separated values file, to a postcard company. I never see these postcards. They print them, they address them with their computer, and they mail them. That's it. I don't put stamps on postcards and all that. It costs me almost the same. They may make a few cents a postcard, but it's not worth it for me to do it myself. Okay, you target an area when you're doing a shotgun approach, and you send postcards to every house. Now what this does, it captures all motivated sellers, but it is expensive. For example, if I pull to make this effective, you got to send 500 a week. If you're not sending 500 a week, you're not going to be too effective. And that should at least buy you a house. You buy a house with 500 to 1,000 postcards generally. So, if you need to buy 2 houses, you're going to send a couple of thousand postcards, probably, to make sure. You might get 3 one time and 2, but basically 1,000 postcards is going to cost you about $500. So that can be expensive, but if you buy a house and you make 5,000, is that a good deal? It's a pretty good trade-off, but there aren't many of us want to pull that much money. You go by 3 weeks and you shot $1,500 out there, you get nervous. Okay, so a lot of people don't want to do the shotgun approach, even though it is effective. It is expensive. We still do it. But we have gone to a little more of a targeted approach in some areas. Now, a sharpshooter campaign, that's kind of in the middle. What we do on that is we just screen the tax records using RealQuest, and we send letters or postcards to the absentee owners. Send the same postcard. I should have brought one in. I don't know if anybody's got one of mine or not, but it's got a picture of me in Superman tights with a wad of cash in my hand. Says I buy houses.
I got them at home.
Yeah. If you own properties in my neighborhood, you got one. Bob would always call me, got another one.
Why I live off of Kernan and ATV.
Because you own houses in those neighborhoods. See? And that's why you were an absentee owner. So that's a perfect example of the sharpshooter approach. I'm not sending them to everybody, but I am sending them to absentee owners. Okay, that's a very simple sort, and you can do that right in RealQuest. Now, we also do what we call a sharpshooter or a surgical campaign. That was the sharpshooter. What does that mean? It means we're going to get right down to the nitty-gritty. We're going to take 600-700 leads, and we're going to put them in a filter, and only about 40 are going to drop out on the average. So we're going to eliminate 95% of all the leads. And when they drop out, what we are going to have is a person that owns a house, that does not live in that house, that does not even live in Jacksonville, and doesn't owe a penny on that house. Now I have not only a motivated seller, I have a person that can sell, because they don't have a loan to worry about. So these are free and clear houses, which gives me a lot more latitude in my offer. I can now go in and offer terms. Some of them I may offer $20,000 cash, $22,000 for a 90-day option with $100 up front, and I'll give you $22,000 when I sell it. Or I can offer $18,000 all cash. I'll close in 2 weeks. They always take the all cash, so maybe I'm not making the others high enough, or I'm making the all cash too low. But 99% of the time they take the cash offer. But what I have done with that surgical campaign is I have found people that are highly motivated and are able to sell to me. Again, what were the 3 criteria? Absentee owner, lives out of Jacksonville, owns it free and clear. Now, you can't do that in one sort. You have to use the software that we use, and then you have to put that over on an Excel spreadsheet and put it in a CSV file, sort it by city of the mailing address, and delete all the Jacksonvilles. That's how we learn to do that. Okay, I'm having second thoughts. I think I'm telling you guys too much of this stuff. Most of you are like me, you'll be lazy. Okay, so that's a surgical campaign. This is what we do. This is how we find motivated sellers. Okay, locating and buying from motivated sellers continued. Target one of the motivations and design a campaign. Now, there are some other ways to look for motivated sellers. Online prospecting. You can build an effective website, then send traffic to it. A website is very important here. A website is like a billboard in the wilderness. It is completely ineffective unless you can drive traffic to it. Everybody thinks the key, I'm a real estate investor, I got to have a website. Save your $100. It's worthless. What is valuable is being able to get traffic to a website. Now, I'm not the expert on that, but my son Adam is. I believe the last class in our series is going to be how to do that. And he knows how to do it, and that's one reason you're here. We had about 150 people at our first meeting of this group. Most RIAs start with 8 or 10 people. How did we get 150 here? Anybody know? Because you probably got aggravated to death, right? Marketing. Online marketing. We had a website. Our website still is being developed. People think, y'all get the website and then I can develop it. No. Adam had to teach me this. I argued with him for days. He said, no, you get the traffic first and then you can get the website. And what are they going to look at? Well, they're going to look at videos. Go make a video. Here's what I want you to do. All of the videos that you saw was Adam say, go do this, go do that. Go make this video like this. What are you going to do with it? You let me handle that. I'll market. Now, we are in the last course in the Pro RIA University is going to be, he's going to teach you how to do that. So again, having a website is worthless, but getting traffic to a website is priceless. It's like a billboard. The only purpose of online marketing is not to sell houses, and it is not to buy houses. And this is a big mistake that you make in marketing. And this is something that I'd actually taught Adam. We teach each other. When he was young, I would tell him, look, marketing is not to sell. Marketing is not trying to sell something. What is marketing? It is finding prospects. And if you think you can sell something by marketing it online, it better be a hula hoop or something, or a radio. It better not be real estate, because you absolutely cannot do it. It is not that type of a product. All you can do online is find prospects. Okay, all you can do with any marketing. My postcard is not to buy houses. What is my postcard for? To find prospects. The only purpose of it is to get the phone to ring. That's what that postcard's for. That's why I don't have anything on there that tries to get them to buy or tells them to sell. Basically, everything in our marketing is designed to get someone to take an action, and that is to call us or to contact us or to click on a web link. When you understand that, you'll understand a whole lot more about marketing. So what we do online is we have to get traffic to the website. Our website's nothing magic. We neglect them. I mean, they're not our thing. Our thing is getting the call. Okay, and then processing. We use a whole lot more video than we do websites. Video is the future of marketing. It is not websites. Websites are outdated. They're as outdated as the Times Union. Did you know that? They really are. How many websites do you go to and browse through the website? None, or very few. Usually what we do is we get our iPad and we do a Google search, and then we're not going to a website. If we're looking for real estate investing, what usually pops up? YouTube or video. Okay, websites are not nearly what they were. They're simply a billboard. They're a place to post things. The only purpose of the online marketing is to build a list of buyers or sellers. Now, it's very important to do that. I built my initial list of sellers by handing out cards and meeting people and telling them to go sign up on my website. I didn't do anything else. And I got up to 500-600 people, of which a couple of hundred of those were people that might buy a house from me. I haven't had to do a lot since then because I found the critical path is not getting the buyers. The critical path for me is getting the sellers. So once you build that list and you get a good qualified list, you'll use that for a long, long time. Okay, other prospecting methods might include...
That's true, but we have to find our own list of buyers.
Right, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, we don't have enough time to get into the detail on it, but again, we're going to follow up, and I'm going to kind of ask you and tell you what's coming right up, but we're going to follow up with a full Saturday on the details, because there's no way in 2 hours you're ever going to get that detail on building that list. Okay, bandit signs, flyers on doors, word of mouth, print, and radio, etc. We don't do any of those, but it's not because they're not effective. It's because we're too lazy. Okay, the most effective way to buy houses, again, is flyers on doors. We don't do it because we're lazy. Okay, how about social media? Social media has almost replaced websites. Now, I'm not big into the social media. I'll do a comment here and there. I have other people that do it for me. Adam will do it. We don't do that as much as we should. Okay, but it is very effective. Social media such as Facebook, LinkedIn, blogs, etc. Who does a lot of that? Anybody in here do a lot of that besides Adam? Okay, it is effective, but it's time consuming. Okay, you can use billboards. See the UGG buys houses billboards? You know how that works? Somebody pays for a billboard and gives somebody else some forms and charges them money every time they buy and sell a house. I mean, I'm sound like the guy that's making out the guy that owns a billboard. But somebody was too lazy to set up their own little system, so he does it. I know people that have subscribed to it. It's like 30 grand to walk in the door. And what they do, they have somebody in every little area. They get those calls and they just proportion them out to you. It'd be interesting to know how many calls they get, but most of them won't tell you. But billboards could certainly be effective. Again, it's a pretty major investment. Bandit signs, I'm sure bandit signs work. I've never done them to buy houses. Radio, I've done some radio, but I did it just to help a friend. Anybody know Glenn Mather with Intrust? I did a show with him one time on the radio. I think radio is kind of a slow thing. You know, I don't think you're going to do one radio spot. I think you're going to have to do it on a continued basis to get any effect from it. Added value. To me, this is the key to being a successful volume wholesaler. I don't care who you are or how good you are at wholesaling or finding houses, unless you can add value, you're never going to build a wholesaling business. And wholesaling is a business. Real estate investing is a business. You can make a decision that you want to do a little piece here and a little piece there and be happy, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. ProReal will teach you how to do that. But if you decide you want to go to the next level and you want to really, really learn to build a business, then wholesaling is a very good place to do that. It's not simple, it's not easy, but it can be very profitable. I mentioned this last time, the difference between a casual wholesaler and a top guy in this town that gets out and hustles and builds a business is probably I'd say an average wholesaler might make $30,000, $40,000 piddling, but a wholesaling business can easily bring in $500,000 a year. Okay, it's out there. And the market is not touched. The market in Jacksonville, again, we have about 50 people in here. We're 1.3 million people in Jacksonville. I don't know how many motivated sellers are out there. The business is here, but if you really want to do it and you want to do it on a large basis, you've got to build a business, and that's simply adding value. And what does that mean? What can you add as value? I want to tell you a little bit about our company and what we add as value, because we've been pretty successful. How about renovation services? Added value is the central theme of our business plan, offering added value. And it helped. I mean, there was a time when you could sell houses as quickly as you get them, and you didn't have to add a whole lot. I mean, you just had to know how to find houses. That time is over. You got to get out and hustle a little bit in this business these days. I think it was Mitch. I call him Mitch. You guys call him Tom Futch. When I told him I was leaving my job, and I had a $100,000 a year plus job, and had it pretty easy. And I told him, I think I'm going back into real estate full time. What'd you tell me? You remember? That's exactly what he said. He got a pretty good memory. He said it's not as easy as it used to be. And he went on to say, I know you and Bill, that was my old partner, used to buy and sell a lot of houses. You ain't going to do that right now. This is a tough market. And so that just made me mad. And my first year back in the business, or my first year by myself, basically nobody helping me. I paid some college students to manually go find some motivated sellers. We'd look in the tax records manually, one record at a time, and I paid people like $7 an hour to do this in an upstairs bedroom in my house. I bought and sold 52 houses that year, and that was in 2002. Okay, so but I knew to stay in business that I didn't want to work that hard every year, and also that times weren't always going to be that good. I mean, then you could sell anything you got immediately. It was definitely a seller's market. So we need to add value. Where did we start? Well, I had a contractor's license, and for the first year I didn't renovate a house. The second year I renovated a couple, renovated some in retail, and then I began to renovate the houses for my buyers who would be landlords. So we added the value of, you can come in and you can buy a house from us and we will renovate it for you. We do everything on cost plus 20%. It's very fair, and we do an excellent job, so the houses rent quickly. And basically with our buying power, I don't think you can go out and not spend that 20% and get the same product that we can provide. That 20% is all of our overhead and our profit. So we just build labor and materials. That's basically what we build, nothing else. And so basically that gave us some added value. We found that more people were willing to buy from us because they didn't have to go out and find another contractor. Now you may say, Joe, I'm not a contractor. How can I do that? Could you team with a contractor? Could you find an honest contractor somewhere and say, look, I'll send you business, but you got to look after me. Here's what I need. They're out there, and most of them are starving right now. Okay, because there's no new construction to speak of. So there are a lot of tradesmen out of work. Go find a small contractor if you're not interested in doing that. So we added value as being the contractor. How about property management? It got to the point that who'll manage our properties? We'd send them to 2 or 3 companies, which I won't mention, and we were amazed at the lack of any decent property managers out there. There aren't many, and if you find one, it's like 15%. You know, the real good ones are real expensive. So we said, okay, I guess we're going to have to go in the property management business. So Adam came up with a plan. He already had Locklear Realty buying our houses. So he said, okay, we'll go into property management. And we set it up and we went in that business. It's not a big profit maker, but guess what? It supports the wholesaling operation. Maybe one day it will be profitable. Right now it's just about a break even, but guess what it does? It adds value to my wholesaling. Okay? How about short-term financing? If I sell you a house, you don't have to worry about short-term financing. If it wasn't a good deal, I wouldn't have bought it. Now they're going to look at you, and they didn't used to the way you qualified for a private money loan was they held a little glass slide under your nose, and if it fogged up, you're approved. These days, they want you to have pretty decent credit, say a 675, 700, and they'd like to see you have a little skin in the game. So if you're doing one of these as a rental, they might ask you to put $5,000 of your own money in there so they know you've got something to lose. But if you're willing to do that, I can certainly get you the rest of the money. I don't care if it's 100, 150, 50, 30, I can get you the money. And so we went into adding value. We don't lend the money usually. I've got one loan out, I think. And what we do is if you buy the house from us, we will find you the money. That's added value. Now, can you do that? Certainly you can. You can find some lenders out there. They're around. and you identify those lenders, and now you have added value. You don't have to be that person, you just have to find that person. And you will find them here within ProRIA. Okay, how about the ultimate, which is teaching and mentoring? This gives your people pretty much everything they need. If they can come to you and learn, and you can find them the house, and you can find them the money, and you can rehab the house, and you